Welcome back to From the Bookshelf for another weekly download. As always, before I get started, don't forget to like and comment on this video and subscribe to the channel so you can get all the newest updates on all the new videos I have going on in this series, as well as my book club series and anything new we have going on. So let's get started. This particular week I didn't have any audiobooks. Instead of listening to audiobooks, I listened to some podcasts. So let me recommend those for you. This week I listened to The Tripod by the Try Guys, and they're really funny. They kind of talk about like what's going on in their lives and stuff like that. It's a weekly podcast. And if you know anything about the Try Guys and their YouTube channel, they are truly hilarious, and they almost amp it up to the next level in this one. So it's definitely something to go ahead and listen to if you like that kind of humor. And the second one is it's called Baby Steps. It features Ned Fulmer, 1/4 of the Try Guys, and his wife Ariel, who is expecting their second child, and the two of them are kind of talking about their experiences with raising their son. And it's a really funny show, and even though I don't have kids myself, I enjoy listening to their stories and stuff like that. And then I also listened to Ear Biscuits by Rhett and Link, who have the YouTube channel Good Mythical Morning. It's a show that they do daily, Monday through Friday, and it's a lot like the Try Guys in the sense that they're always doing something funny, something crazy in their videos. Something definitely to take a look at if you like humor and that kind of thing. And the last podcast I listened to this week is The Mic Drop. It's run by a former Navy SEAL who on all his episodes brings someone in to interview and they talk about them. It's actually where I get a lot of recommendations for some of the books that I read, some of the memoirs and stuff like that. So it's definitely something to check out. It's really, really cool podcast. It's definitely a lot more it's got a lot more vulgar language in it. He doesn't edit it out and stuff like that, so be aware of that. So let's get into the books that I did read. The first one we have is one of the In Death books. We have Promises in Death. I'm not sure what number I'm up to yet as of this far. It's a huge series. But this particular one, I really did like this one. It's one of the better ones in the later books that I have been reading. Give it an 8 out of 10. It was fun, entertaining, and it definitely had a twist at the end that I didn't quite see coming, which is one of the reasons I think I liked it a little bit more than the last couple, because the last couple I found to be just a little bit predictable. This one wasn't as much, so definitely go look it up if you like that series. And then we have another Rogue Angel book. I know I've been reading a lot of these, and as always, they're ghost written. The author that did the ghost writing for this one is one of my favorites to say. I did enjoy this one. It didn't have as much of a mystery to it like most of them do, or like a supernatural aspect too much, but there's a lot of suspense, a lot of action, and I really enjoyed it. So as Library of Gold, sorry I don't think I gave you the actual title. So Library of Gold, I gave this one a 7 out of 10. It's definitely on the better side of this series, and if you read the series, then definitely read this one. If you don't want to like read them all, because this is like in the early 20s, mid 20s, that kind of thing, then this particular one as a standalone would be really good to take a look at. So there's that. So then we have 2 more of the Twitches books that I have read. This is books 7 and 8. We have Kindred Spirits and The Witch Hunters. So again, they're fun. They're kind of cute and that kind of thing. A little bit cheesy. They're definitely good reads if you've got preteens or teenagers, that kind of thing. You can definitely tell that they were originally written a little time ago, as they're not kind of up to date with pop culture and that kind of thing. A lot of slang being used that probably doesn't get used too much anymore with youth these days. I gave the book, what is it? What I said, book 7, 6 out of 10. And I think this one more of a 5 out of 10, just because there wasn't quite as much plot-wise to it. It almost honestly felt like just a continuation of this one. Like if you'd just add them together as one large book, you wouldn't have been able to tell that they were 2 different books. And I think that might have been why I knocked it down just a little bit. But if, like I said, if you have a preteen or a teenager, then it might be something they're interested in if they like witches, supernatural, that kind of thing. So then we have One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I've read a lot of his books recently. I really like him. I've read this before. This is another one of the books that I read for my Russian literature class in college. It's more the size of a novella. It's about 130 pages. It's a super quick read, but it's really good. It follows one of the prisoners in the Russian gulags during the, I want to say, this book was published in the 60s, but I want to say like it takes place probably in the 30s or 40s when all of that was going on. And it follows a day of like one prisoner within this prison system, work camps out in Russia during the Stalin era. And it's really good. I love this particular author. He's truly amazing. So I'd go ahead and check him out. I've read several of his books, and you can head over to my Instagram and you can see some posts I put up of some of his other books that I read recently. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. It's easy to read. It's not too hard to read like a lot of books sometimes from that time period are. So I definitely bumped up the score for that, and it's entertaining, well written, and if you like that sort of time period, then it's something you should definitely check out. And then the final book we have is the last one we have is the F Up by Arthur Nierzian. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read this one before. I read this like a super long time ago, I think like when I was in high school. I really liked it, and I've decided to start rereading a bunch of his books. I've read a couple of them, and I have a lot more that I haven't read yet. So I started with this one because from the ones that I have read, it was my favorite. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It follows kind of this anonymous slacker, you never really know his name, living in New York City, and him just kind of trying to figure out what's going on with his life, all the ups and downs and stuff like that. It's set in the 90s, early 90s when it was written, so it's a bit older of a book, but it's really good. If you don't mind a little bit of vulgar language, then this is definitely something to read. So there is a bit more on the language end of bad language and stuff like that, but if that doesn't bother you, then definitely give this one a read because it's definitely worth it. And that's it for this episode of the weekly download. It's a little bit shorter than normal because I didn't read quite as many books. Although I am almost finished with one. What I'm reading currently is this one, Tom Clancy's Locked On. It's a Jack Ryan book, although technically it's more like of a Jack Ryan Jr. book because it follows more Jack Ryan's son as opposed to the titular title character. As you can see, I've got a little bit left. I mean, it looks like a lot because it's a huge book, but I'll definitely finish this tomorrow. So far, I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10 just because I really like this series. There have been a couple, the past couple I've read that weren't quite as good, but this one's really good, and I've been really enjoying Jack Ryan Jr.'s storyline going into that. So if you like Tom Clancy or you like suspense, mystery, political suspense, that kind of thing, then give it a read. I'd suggest starting at Hunt for Red October, which is like the first book that he wrote in that series. So now I think that's it. So I'll see you next week, and don't forget to check out my Instagram where you can get more on what I'm reading and what's going on, and check out some of my other videos. Let me know down below, and if I've inspired you to read anything, go ahead and post it, and use the hashtag #OffTheBookshelf, and I'll see you next week.